completely against our policies. Don't even think of it. Anyway, I call the meeting to order.
Thank you.
I'll hand it over to our acting mayor this month, is Councillor Zerillo.
Thank you. It's good to see everyone here. Just as an FYI, on these committee meetings, we do share the chair responsibilities, so the acting mayor takes on this part of the day. I guess we are starting with... I'll leave it with you.
Yes, thank you. I have not received any additional items in advance of the meeting. Are there any of the items at this time? Seeing none. Item 1 is minutes of the council and committee meeting held on Monday, March 27th. These minutes were deferred from our last meeting. The recommendation is to approve.
So moved by Councillor Reid, seconded by Councillor Asmundson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
The second item are minutes of the council and committee meeting held on Monday, April 3rd. The recommendation is to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Hodge. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously.
The next 3 items are delegations. Our first delegation is from Gordon Schoberg from FortisBC, and he's providing an update on the status of 3 natural gas projects in the city of Coquitlam.
Welcome, Mr. Schoberg.
Thanks.
So,
Mayor, councillors. Oops.
I see you've got a number of items there, and you know about the 5-minute.
Yes, I do. And if I'm asked questions, feel free to throughout the presentation, and I'll try and go as quickly as I can. This other delegation is going to be much more entertaining, I'm sure, than mine, but I'd like to provide an update of 3 major gas FortisBC projects that touch the city of Coquitlam. You've been updated with some of them before, but it's been a while since I've been here, and I'd like to build on a staff report that you've received earlier this year. So you've got control of that? Oh, I do.
We do. This button right here.
I love having control. I don't get it very often. That one? There we go. Okay. So very briefly, the first project is what we call the Eagle Mountain Gas Pipeline Project, which touches the city of Coquitlam up the hill with a compressor station expansion. Very briefly, that project is undergoing an optimization process over the next couple of months. It could very well be done soon. Until that's done, we're not going to be able to move forward with a memorandum of understanding, which I believe that Fortis and staff have been talking about. So once that process is completed, we'll be back and we can pick that up and move that forward. The next slide concerns a project that touches both the city of Surrey and Coquitlam. Michaels Canada has been engaged to construct about 5 kilometers of 36-inch diameter natural gas line from the Fraser River up to the corner of Mariner Way and Como Lake Avenue as the part of a broader project that touches the city of Surrey. And I'm just going to kind of slip through my notes here a little bit. Work commenced in February of this year, and initially the contractor began focusing on constructing road crossings, some of which are open cut, and will soon be constructing on private property with an existing right-of-way. The contractor will be installing pipe using trenchless technology in the Mundy Park bog area near United Boulevard in order to minimize environmental impacts. And we're following detailed environmental practices, including erosion and sediment control plans. And the entire project is being planned for completion in September of this year. We've been working closely with city engineering and traffic staff over the last 2 years to obtain and comply with the necessary permits required for roads and managing traffic and complying with city bylaws. In addition, we've been working with city communication staff to ensure that we're adequately engaging and communicating with the public in order for them to understand the project and minimize complaints. For example, we had staff out at the Mundy Park dog walk area yesterday and talked to over 100 people and handed out some water bottles and help inform people in advance of closures to the parking lot and the park that will happen starting in May. We intend getting out a couple of more times to do the same thing. The next project, and I'm going to just slip ahead to this slide and then come back. During July and August of this year, Fortis is going to hire a contractor to install 2 gas lines, 6 inches in diameter, one on Poirier Street near Como Lake Avenue, and the other on Robinson Street between Como Lake Avenue and Clark. And that's the one on Poirier is on the right, the Robinson is on the left. This work's being done during the summer at the city's request outside of the busy school season. These gas lines will be 6 inches in diameter, and the contractor will ensure a lane of traffic remains open to the public and that residential driveways will only be impacted for short periods of time. Now the slide that I slipped ahead of. Okay, Como Lake Avenue. As with these other projects, Fortis has been engaging city staff along with a variety of business, community, and political leaders and organizations for the past 2.5 years in order to listen to their feedback as we have progressed with planning for the replacement of a 20-inch diameter natural gas line that presently runs for 20 kilometers, part of it under Como Lake Avenue, starting at Mariner, then heading westerly along Broadway through Burnaby and Vancouver, just past Commercial Drive. Approximately 5 kilometers of the 20-kilometer gas line is in the city of Coquitlam. This gas line is reaching the end of its useful life, and in order to continue safe and reliable delivery of gas to over 200,000 customers in Coquitlam, Burnaby, and Vancouver, and the North Shore, the Oil and Gas Commission agrees that it needs to be replaced by 2018. While natural gas lines last indefinitely if constructed and operated properly, this 60-year-old gas line requires replacing now, and we trust we will not need to be back to replace the new gas line for a long, long time. The new gas line will be 30 inches in diameter and slightly higher pressure in order to also provide additional operating flexibility to the Fortis gas line system. Once the new gas line is completed, the old one will be decommissioned and left in place. Approvals have been received from the BC Utilities Commission, and we will soon seek detailed approvals from the Oil and Gas Commission. A general contractor will be selected later this summer, with work commencing in November and stretching through 2018. Construction of this gas line will impact local residents and businesses and the traveling public, and significant engagement activities have already been begun and will continue throughout construction. For example, we have a team of 6 land agents contacting all the business owners and tenants along the route, and we now understand their access requirements. This has been done not only to ensure they have a key contact throughout the project, but also so that we can work with them to mitigate commercial impacts. We've also cataloged all residents that will be impacted and will soon be making personal contacts to each of them. We're actively shaping the general contractor RFP in a way that will be sensitive to these businesses and residents and their needs to access their properties. A traffic management strategy for the portion of the project impacting the city of Coquitlam was submitted to city staff in December 2016, and unless there's further discussion needed, we now need to move towards forward with more detailed development of traffic management plans, which will also be submitted to city staff. Many details concerning traffic planning and construction have yet to be developed, and we look forward to continuing the constructive working relationship we've enjoyed thus far with city staff. A very significant communications plan is being developed to help inform the traveling public about lane closures associated with construction and help them to plan their trip prior to leaving so they can choose the best route. If possible, some may choose a different time to make their trip, carpool, or use transit. But we will be communicating through newspaper, social media, our website, radio, and digital targeting, as well as ensuring we have a visible presence in the community. While many have already become reliant on tools like Google Maps, digital trip planning will be very important. All of these efforts seek to lessen the societal impacts of this gas line construction on the public. In recognition of the impact this project will have with the city, Fortis will contribute $300,000 towards a community amenity, and we are now working out the details with city staff. An announcement will be made before too long. This project requires significant traffic and construction planning and public engagement, and we will see this presentation as one of a series of briefings with Coquitlam Council over the coming months. Depending on the level of government of detail Council wishes to go into, we have a few slides showing the proposed construction configuration along Como Lake Avenue. And I neglected earlier just in closing to introduce a few of the colleagues I have with me. Melanie Kilpatrick is with us. She's the project director with FortisBC. We have two people from Worley Parsons, who is our engineering procurement and construction management company, Joe DiPlacido and Ravina Ali. And then we also have Ross McLaren, who's with GNEC, and he's assisting Biddy and Associates with the detailed traffic management plans. So in addition to myself, if you've got questions or comments, thoughts, any of us are prepared to answer.
All right, thank you for that.
Slides?
And we went to the 8 or 9 minutes, but it's an important project.
Sorry about that.
And there's a lot of people in the room today, so it's a good opportunity for them to hear as well. So we do have speakers. Mayor Stewart is the first speaker.
So a few questions. One of them I would prefer if it's kind of a summary of the projects in a written form might have been included, but they're easy enough to access on the internet. One of the challenges we have is in the context of pipelines under our roads is the possibility that the existence of those pipelines under our roads could cause costs to the municipality in future years. And I wonder to what extent Fortis acknowledges that, and your pipeline might be different from other significant pipelines that get installed under roads, in that they're under our roads now, and we don't really run into those kinds of cost challenges. But to what extent is that an issue?
Well, I think it is different than some other types of pipelines. The product we carry is, of course, natural gas. It's familiar to residents. We've got a million customers throughout our system in BC. Of course, it's been here under the road since 1957, and so Fortis spends a lot of time educating and working with fire departments, for example. I think where we interface with municipalities in emergency situations is where there's fires or maybe vehicles damaging meters and that type of thing. And so we work closely with city staff in that and have for the last 60 years. So I don't see this project at all incrementally impacting city costs. There is, of course, taxes that we pay, which is just something we do regularly, and it's based on 1% of our gross revenue. So that's intended to obviously help offset some of the working relationship that we have with the city and maybe some incremental costs that are caused.
Okay, and in large measure, I do distinguish between a pipeline for gas that's meant for local consumption, as the Como Lake one would be, or compared to a pipeline that's meant to export a bitumen or a gas product, for that matter, like wood fiber, is intended for. I did want to applaud the work that you're doing on the Mariner power line route next to Mundy Park. There seems to be a very professional approach to the way in which you're delineating areas for the pipeline. But there was one comment I wanted to make, and that is the early erection of the no trespassing signs in a park setting. When I spoke to the workers, they said, "Oh, they're not for now. We're putting them up now, but they're for later." And the public's view of it was, well, everyone else is using this space, so I'm going to use the space. And when it becomes time to enforce the no trespassing, everyone will know that you're supposed to ignore them. So I just a comment that maybe cover them until you're ready to need them, and then if you have to erect them early before the no trespassing takes effect. We know that there's going to be impacts along there, and I was concerned as well about the impact on, you used the words closing the park. What you meant was closing the dog park. I know.
Dog park.
I know.
Certainly not the
But
yeah.
For some of our residents, you have closed the park when you've closed the parking lot that gives them access to it. And so that is going to be a challenge for some people. And we will be pointing the finger and saying it's Fortis's fault. So, you know.
And we're going to have people that will help redirect the traveling public, like the vehicle traveling public, around to the other parking lot on the west side of Mundy Park. Mm-hmm. In addition, at the recommendation of your communications folks last week, we're going to be putting some stickers overlaying the signs with specific dates of when the parking lot or that portion of the that area will be closed. They thought the people needed to know dates, and so we'll be putting stickers over top of those signs as well.
Yeah, no, certainly dates on that corridor and dates on the Como Lake corridor. It's my last comment, and that is the effect that the Como Lake work will have on the possibility that our other routes, the rat running routes, if you will, the Foster and various other routes that people will be diverting to in order to avoid that lineup, that diversion could end up with some serious risks. And I urge Fortis to work closely with our engineering department to manage the heightened risk that I know will come from the work. And in that context, do you ever work with other utilities like Hydro who want to put something underground along the same corridor? And I'd hate to have one utility come through and lay a pipe and spend a year and everyone say, thank God it's over, and then along comes another utility and lays a...
We have talked to Hydro and others as well. And while Hydro does have some plans to extend their transmission system, we've, for example, offered them our old pipeline as possibly a casing pipe, that type of thing. And we're still actively looking for third-party activity, commercial opportunities for that gas line, because, as you say, it's the right thing to do. The public expects us to talk to each other as utilities and work as efficiently as we can. So if there's an opportunity to use that old pipe for another purpose, we're actively investigating that now. And we have been talking to staff about the possibility of installing other works in or near the new gas line when the trench is opened up. It's sometimes difficult to coordinate that, but I know as we move through Burnaby and Vancouver, those discussions have been on the table with city staff there as well. So we'll do whatever we can to avoid inefficiencies like you speak about.
Well, I know. So you mentioned it's difficult to coordinate. It's much more complex for an entire community to coordinate the success of opening trenches. And so to the extent that it might be more work for Fortis, we urge you to please contemplate that. And I'd love to find the repurposing for the pipe, because not everything that was created in the 50s is past its useful life. Yeah, exactly.
I was created in the 50s myself, so I'm sensitive to that.
Councillor Reid.
Mine was only to do with the pipe that you're leaving. I wondered if you were removing it or if you had some other repurpose for it, because our underground is becoming incredibly attractive these days. We've got all kinds of things going through. And so I was concerned that, we just keep leaving more and more pipes in the ground. So that's good. If you don't find someone who wants to take it over for something, will you remove it?
The plan is to leave it in place, to abandon it and leave it in place. It's often more impactful to dig another trench on the other side of the road to physically remove the gas line. So the plan would be to leave it in place. We don't have detailed decommissioning plans yet, but those will be developed. But in the absence of finding a third party to repurpose that pipe for, it would be plan is to leave it in place.
Well, I guess we'll talk about that another day. Thank you very much.
Councillor O'Neill.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. So just following up on that last bit then, this just hit me now then. There's going to be an entirely new pipeline route then made along Como Lake. It's not going to be right beside the old pipe. It's on the other side of the street or in the middle of the street. And it's going to be significantly several meters away from the old pipe. It's not going to be on top of the old pipe.
Correct.
Beside it.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Now, the report that we got in January from our engineering department talked about how this project was likely going to take 8 months. Is that still the working estimate, or is it longer or shorter now?
The plan is to mobilize contractors in November this year and have it completed by November next year.
That's 12 months then. So it's
12 or 13 months.
So it's grown from the report that we had just a few months ago. So it's grown a month for every, more than a month for every month that we've waited since the last report.
I'm not sure if one of my colleagues wants to jump in here in terms of the length of time in the city of Coquitlam.
Well, so your entire project is 12 months?
Yes, correct.
So for Coquitlam, that's what I want to know. How long in Coquitlam? We were told 8 months.
We're still looking at 8 months.
You're still looking at 8 months. Okay.
Good enough. I'm glad we've got the right people here.
Good. Now, in the very first, I think it was the first one you showed, a very small little project for 6-inch pipe. You talked about how there's going to be one lane open at least. Those are 2-lane roads I think you're operating on, so that's 50% of the flow. The report that we got in January talked about between Linton and Robinson, there would only be 1 lane. Now, those are 4-lane roads. And that would be 1 lane for 1 block at a time. So a moving choke point as it goes along over the 8 months. Is that still the plan?
Okay, so these two were not a part of the staff.
Oh, I know that.
Okay.
I know that. That's fine. You're going to keep 50% of the road open there.
Right.
You're not going to keep 50% of the road open in Como Lake. That's the big plan. Is that still the plan to have the choke point, the one block choke point moving along over the course of the 8 months, a block at a time or half?
One of the sections would require 3 lanes closed on Como with 1 lane remaining open. The other construction segments would allow for 2 lanes to be shut down and 2 lanes to remain open.
Right.
So that one
2 lanes is a much better scenario. Having 2 lanes open. And that means you at least have 1 lane going in each direction all the time. With only 1 lane open, that's just people will be backed up. So that's still the scenario. No change from our report in January.
That's correct. What's changed is that we've been meeting with your engineering staff to show them in more detail what the construction methods would be through there and the construction sequencing. So there's been a lot more detailed construction information available, and we intend to continue working with your staff on that.
Well, that's good for the staff and good for us to know that, but in terms of the where the rubber hits the road, our citizens, nothing has changed for them really then. It's still the prospect of 8 months of quite a bit of congestion on Como Lake. So now, you talked about developing the transportation management plan. And what are some of the options that are on there now? Are you going to help pay for, let's say, roads that have to be upgraded or something that for the course of the 8 months, or traffic control measures you'll be paying all along those roads? If as the mayor talked about it, are you going to help us with that? You also mentioned that people are going to have to take transit more often or carpool. Are you planning to do any help regarding transit pay for a shuttle bus. I don't know, carpooling. You have a special carpool site set up that people can access if they need to, or any of these sorts of things, or we can be on our own on that.
There's still a lot of thinking and planning yet to be developed on all of those things. I don't have specific answers for you, and that's one of the reasons we'd like to come back in, possibly a couple of months, because there's a lot of planning that's going on right now, and those kind of questions clearly need to be answered, and we need to have some answers to those. Things like, the restoration of the trench and pavement. Decisions just have not been made yet, and there's going to be a lot more discussion on those things. So those are very real concerns, and we don't want to overlook any of that. It is going to be a significant impact to the commuting public, and we worry about the delivery of commercial goods on time. There's a huge group of stakeholders that are going to need to have their voice heard, all the way from BC Trucking Association.
Well, we're lucky that Coquitlam Lake's not a truck route, so that's good.
Yeah, well.
I didn't say it. No, thank you. Emergency vehicles, ambulances, fire, police, a huge impact on them. It's a major route for them as well. Do you know if are you reaching out to them, or is that as part of the traffic management as well?
That's part of the traffic management planning. The strategy that is already in place does talk about things like that, but the actual planning is yet to be developed.
Okay, well, I urge you to do everything you can to lessen the adverse impact on the citizens of Coquitlam. A lot of stress in many people's lives. We don't want to add to it any more than is needed. So please do everything you can to make sure this works really well. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
Councillor Hodge, do you have some jokes about truck route?
No, I will refrain from that and any 50s jokes as well. So I guess the question I have, you're going to hear is probably from, you've already started to hear it, the concerns about Como Lake Avenue. It is our major transportation route. It's one of the few east-west connectors we have. It's a transit route. So I appreciate that you're going to sort of try to put a transit plan or traffic management plan in place. And whatever you do, there's going to be disruptions because we're going to go from 4 lanes down to less. You mentioned on the Poirier project, that's a 6-inch line, so that's a different line. You're going to do it during, I guess, during the summer to avoid working around the school. Is there any chance that this line can be done in conjunction with that? Because essentially you're going to go through that area twice, correct? Or will you do both lines at the same time?
Well, the 6-inch on Poirier and Robinson are intended for this summer, whereas, of course, the main line would be certainly later on. We wanted to break them up so they wouldn't need to be done at the same time, and we're trying to do as much during the summer to accommodate the school season as we can. There is a section on Como Lake Avenue that runs in front of schools that we're going to plan for the summer next year. So we're trying
on this line, and that leads into my question. My real question is we're trying to avoid the school, do it during the summer to avoid the schools for the 6-inch. What is the plan to deal with the main line? Because we have a number of schools along Como Lake Avenue. Some, such as Parkland and Bantine, have back ways in. But Charles Best School, the only entrance in and out of that school is via Como Lake, and I would be really concerned about any disruption. Because that's a significant amount of traffic in and out of those driveways during the school year.
And I believe that one is planned for summer of next year. I'm just looking at my colleagues.
Baker to summer 2018.
That's right. That's the easterly portion of the Como. Yes,
during
the summer next year.
Okay.
Yes.
And the other schools, to me, aren't as critical because you do have Regan and other ways in and out of Hillcrest and Parkland, but recognizing there is significant traffic around the schools during the school year and also certain times of the day. And my understanding is that this is going to go from early in the morning. This isn't a case of 10 to 3 and avoiding rush hour. What are the times? Is this sort of going to be 8 till 8 o'clock at night, or what are the times that this is going to run?
We'll have to work within the noise bylaw and work work out the details of that. But each construction stage will be fenced off 24 hours a day. So it's not like, road plates will close things in the evening. This will be significant construction. It'll be a deep trench. And in order for the construction train to efficiently get in and through and do their work and get out as quickly as possible, we're going to need to totally close it off. So the impacts with schools, we're going to need to work with the school staff, parent advisory committees, work to help identify alternative traffic patterns, and we will have an army of people, some of which we've already hired, to work with stakeholders like that.
Right. So time of work, certainly that's a concern given the noise bylaw. But really, from a traffic management time, that road is closed 24 hours a day when you're in that section. So it's not a case of after 3:30 we open it up for commuter traffic. So buses, everybody is impacted. Essentially, at some point in the line or the road, at some point, is going to be impacted for that 8 months.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you. Good, thank you.
I don't think I saw anyone else on speaker list, and my questions are related to taxes. Every time I see you, I seem to hear this project, I have a question about taxes. But you mentioned today 1% of gross revenue.
Yeah.
And I just want to understand what the taxes will be coming to Coquitlam, because I understood that it's 1% of gross revenue of consumption. So if we're not consuming in Coquitlam, we're not benefiting from that. So I just want to understand fully the one that goes along Como Lake, and also the one coming north from Surrey, and also the Eagle Ridge Compressor Station. If you can just let us know separately of those three, how much taxes the city of Coquitlam will be.
So incrementally, those won't make a lot of difference. Now the compressor station up the hill, of course, is different because it's a facility and it's taxed according to how it's taxed now. If it's larger, I don't know what the incremental tax revenue will be to the city on that, but I'm sure there will be one. But in terms of the gas lines, both the other gas lines, there won't be measurable incremental tax increases as a result of those.
Okay, so I wanted to understand that fully. So the linear pipe, there's really no incremental because we're not consuming anymore in Coquitlam.
Correct.
So then my second question is on the abandoned pipe. That's tax-free then. There's no additional taxes coming to the city of Coquitlam for that abandoned pipe, correct?
No, because of how we're taxed and how we pay taxes, it doesn't have an impact on tax revenue because there's no gross revenue that's being impacted.
And has there been any discussion at other levels of government about different ways to tax these sort of things? I mean, now that we are in denser communities where the impact is higher, has there been any discussion that you're aware of at other levels of government about trying to recoup some of or try to share some of the revenue on these kind of projects with municipalities?
In terms of the taxation structure, I'm not aware of discussions that are ongoing provincially. It's the Provincial Assessment Act that regulates how the taxes get paid. I think BC Hydro is similar. But we're sensitive to abandoning and leaving gas lines in place. Roads are increasingly congested, and there's no question it's an issue. I think the balance is the cost and the environmental and public impact of physically removing gas lines, looking for other third-party commercial interests to use them, or possibly taking a discussion to a different body like the BC or UBCM or something like that. This is not a city of Coquitlam issue. The questions that you're asking are the same ones that I've been asked in both Vancouver and Burnaby, because it goes through their communities as well. And I guess on balance, since us as natural gas customers are paying for this new project, the BC Utilities Commission is standing there saying, you better be prudently using customer money, and so it is an issue. It is a large issue, and streets are becoming increasingly congested. And at some point, if we take a discussion offline to help move it into a different venue, that could very well happen.
Yeah, it seems like, well, for now we know, like you said, no noticeable incremental increase. That's good to know. And then my others are comments are not to you, but more to parks, that having that dog park closed right when we've had 4 or 5 months of rain is going to be an issue, and we might end up with dog conflicts on the west side of Mundy Park. So thank you so much. I didn't see you. Sorry. Councillor Wilson.
Down the road, if that 20-inch pipe needs to be removed, whose responsibility is that?
Fortis is going to continue to own the responsibility and liability for that gas line indefinitely. It was ours when we put it in, and it'll remain ours even if it's not being used for natural gas purposes. So, it's Fortis's.
So if Hydro comes along and they say we need to put something down and we need to put it where this 20-inch pipe is, you guys negotiate over that and decide whether that's legit, and if it is, then you have to pay the cost to remove it for Hydro kind of thing, or?
Well, probably not.
Not as simple
I would
as that,
think Hydro might have
if
to
we
step
need,
up
if we
and
need
do
the
that.
space
But,
for other utilities on our roads, I guess I'm just concerned about this abandoned pipe.
certainly, there's restrictions on how close other utilities can come to an active gas line. Once it's decommissioned, those restrictions come off. So I would think that a third-party utility would have a lot more liberty of working or constructing around that old pipe at some point in the future.
Right. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much
Okay.
for coming in. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Item 4 is our second delegation. I'd like to invite Mr. Steve Butz, President of the YMCA of Greater Vancouver, to come forward. He'll be presenting on Community Capital Campaign.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Coquitlam.
Nice to be back.
You've achieved your goal.
Pardon me?
You've achieved your goal?
Yes, absolutely.
That'd be great.
Yeah, well, we're getting there. Well, so good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of committee. I've been in front of this council and committee a few times over the last number of years, usually reporting on another step forward in our shared vision for a new Y in Coquitlam. This presentation is going to be no different, and in many ways could be considered one of the most significant steps we will make. Up to this point, it's been our project, the city and the YMCA. And while we continue to grind away through our critical path and our cost control and our rezoning and the hundreds of questions associated with a project of this complexity, we continue to do so with your team with transparency and with trust. Today, I'm here to introduce a new member of that team, one I suggest is more important than any one of us. And that partner is the Coquitlam community. And the manifestation of that partnership is through their engagement as volunteers and donors, helping to make this project possible. It is therefore my honor to introduce to you Tracy Price and Janine Davies. Janine is lurking back there as co-chairs of the What Really Matters capital campaign here in Coquitlam. These volunteers will lead a community campaign with a preliminary goal of $4 million. Their job will focus on engaging individuals, businesses, community partners to share the story of the Y's cause and invite them to consider giving to our campaign. We're lucky and we're honored to have their voices leading on our behalf. So I'll invite Tracy to say a few words to introduce herself and give you a quick update as to our work.
Welcome, Ms. Price. And Ms. Davies, thank you.
So good afternoon, Your Worship Mayor Stewart and your acting worship, Cirillo, and City Councillors. As Steve mentioned, my name is Tracy Price, and I, along with Co-Chair Janine Davies, we're honored, frankly, to be able to share our vision for the campaign that engages our community in making this new YMCA a reality. So the WISE overall campaign theme, and you're going to hear this from a lot, is what really matters. And it's great to be able to articulate that on a couple of different levels. So in many ways, these three words frame, the reason why Janine and I have stepped up as both donors, first and foremost, and as campaign leaders. I'm a lifetime resident of the Tri-Cities, and Coquitlam and Burquitlam in particular are my old stomping grounds, both as a child and a teenager and university work and the whole bit. So it's my honor to now come full circle and volunteer my time to bring this YMCA's life-enhancing program to Coquitlam children and families. Because really, Coquitlam is a city that's given me and my family so much in our lifetime. I mean, my parents have lived in Coquitlam for 59 years. So we go way back. So as a member of RBC Dominion Securities' wealth management team, also in Coquitlam, I specialize in developing lifelong financial strategies that are based on people's visions, lives, and needs. So aligning financial investments with community values is what I'm really, really passionate about. And through this campaign, we've got the privilege of inviting Coquitlam residents, companies, and foundations to invest in programs that match their own values of community building. So as noted, as mentioned, our preliminary campaign goal is to raise $4 million, and look forward to being able to come back here and go, yeah, we're done. But once we get launched, we're going to reassess that goal, hoping it will grow. But Jeannie and I know, as do you, that a campaign is about more than money. So together with the leadership that's been exhibited by this council and the YMCA, the giving of time and money to an important cause like the Y makes us all co-owners. So our collective effort will see the construction of a 58,000 square foot spacious and modern facility that will give more than 16,000 children, teens, adults, and seniors every year the opportunity to be healthy, connected, and engaged. So together, we're achieving something more than any one part could achieve alone, and that's something that we can all be very proud of. So as the city and YMCA development teams are making progress on facility planning, Janine, David Wolven, and myself, we're finalizing the recruitment of our volunteer capital campaign cabinet committee. So this group of volunteers will invite community leaders from across the region to invest in the future of our community by supporting the YMCA's capital campaign. And by the way, David, who's in the back there, he's the YMCA manager that's supporting the day-to-day implementation of the campaign and the primary support for Janine and I. He also is a Tri-Cities resident, and he brings a wealth of experience to our team as we get our campaign underway. I'm so excited. In closing, I'm inspired by the YMCA, its partnership with the City of Coquitlam, the values that we share, the opportunity to apply that good benefit to a generation of kids and families in Coquitlam, and it's simply what really matters. So thank you for your time today. So Janine, Steve, David, and I would be very pleased to respond to any questions or updates that you're looking for. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. It's nice to have so many Tri-City folks involved. That's wonderful.
And you've got the two largest wires around.
You talking about me again?
Well, you can be with them.
I don't think I see anyone with questions. I think everyone's just anticipating.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck.
Good luck. Thank you.
Yes.
The last item on our agenda today is a delegation from Metamorephiit Fitness Society. They will be presenting on the work of Metamorephiit Society within the community. I'd like to invite them forward.
Welcome. Remember the warning, no making us do any exercise.
I was expecting to be sitting. But we'll be sitting down, so you will further inhibit me from exercising.
No.
We'll find a way.
That's
I'm Jan
wonderful. Welcome.
Manuel, and this is one of my co-founder is Josh Froesh.
Okay, I'm sorry, can you tell us your name again?
Oh, Giancarlo Manuel.
Giancarlo Manuel. Okay,
And Josh Froesh.
Josh. Okay.
We are two of the 4 co-founders of Metamorephiit. And first of all, I want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to share what we do and our story with you. We're just here to represent and kind of tell you a little bit about what we do. I guess I
Got 5 minutes, so go ahead.
Yeah, I have control of this. Just forward and backwards. On April 21st, it was a Tuesday night, we had Josh and I co-led the first of what would become Metamorephiit's free Tuesday night boot camps. It's almost been 2 years. It's going to be 2 years soon. And we literally just started with a handful of our friends. For me, it was beneficial because it held me accountable to my own training. I was getting bored working out by myself in the gym. And I knew that coming into a group setting like this, the amplified energy was just going to be a little bit more fun and a little bit more engaging than what I was used to. Okay, you doing? I didn't realize there was a mouse there. So it became easy for us to invite our friends who were down to just try it and bring their own friends because it was fun and exciting, and most importantly, it was free. And I think, as our doors are open to literally anybody, because we're outdoors, but any fitness level, you can come in and just have one more workout on your calendar. And we want you to have that one more workout with us. And I think as we go and grow our group, for me, it's a place to lead and compete. For others, it's a place to have an hour carefree from, the stresses of life and work. And for others who've come consistently, they've groomed themselves to be more active and make healthier decisions simply because of the influence of the greater group. And, we just want to establish fitness as more than just a chore. We want it to become a culture in Coquitlam, and we want to be a hub for that. We host our own staple 30-day challenges where we offer extra workouts to our community. We hand out prizes to the people who are most committed. And furthermore, we want to be a bridge to the other great organizations and events that happen all across the Lower Mainland, like the Sun Run coming up and Tough Mudder. Last year, we had the opportunity to host our own boot camp at Relay for Life. All of these things kind of culminating so that we can, establish ourselves as this movement within Coquitlam of people becoming healthier and more fit. And I guess our intentions today was just to officially introduce ourselves. It's kind of ironic that there was a Parkland. That map of Parkland was brought up quite often because that's our hub for where we work out. As you can see, we make the most of the outdoor spaces that are available to us. Our main mode of training is high-intensity interval training, partly because it's very easy to use simple movements with very little equipment. But also, it's arguably the best way to make practical fitness gains and, lose excess weight that you don't want. So we kind of just stand here today to say, hello, this is, we're here and this is who we are. And we hope to build upon the mantle of leadership that you guys have built for the great city of Coquitlam and the Tri-Cities.
Thank you very much. And I love to see young folks coming out to council and introducing us to new ideas. That's wonderful. Councillor O'Neill, you're up.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming in today. It's very interesting to hear and very exciting. Are you a registered nonprofit?
Yes.
If people make donations to your society, they can get tax receipts?
Yeah. As of December, we did the process, and now we're nonprofit.
Oh, congratulations.
If I can clarify, we are a registered nonprofit society, but not a charity.
So no tax receipts.
Not registered charity.
No tax receipts. There's our mentor, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
That's what I want to know. So so are you looking for community partners, people to donate to your
Well, down the road, we'd love to explore opportunities, but for today, we just wanted to shake hands and introduce ourselves to you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just wanted that clarification. Thank you. Good luck.
Councillor Asmundson.
Great program. Thanks for taking the initiative to start this. Fitness is a thing that we all should be more involved in. Now, do you work for outreach to get people to know about you and join in? Because I understand that going to the gym or different people feel isolated at times. Do you work with different fitness places, yoga facilities to tell people, hey, we got a free thing? How do you outreach and how do you get people to find out about you and join in on you?
Yeah. So a big thing for us really was word of mouth. Like it kind of evolved, and it was organic for us. So we started.
Got it.
When we started off, there was like 6 or 7 people at the park, and it was just like you said, accountability. And as we went going, we had 60 people at the park on a Tuesday. We're like, holy smokes, how are we going to accommodate this? So the numbers have been just kind of coming in as they are, and a big way for us to promote ourselves are using social media like Meetup and Facebook, Instagram, and we're kind of creating like a little social media team, and we're really, trying to get our marketing up, as well as word of mouth. And we're starting a little bit to go to organizations and just tell them who we are and what we do, just to give them that outlet.
Do you have a maximum number of people that you're going to be able to handle, or you're going to break it up into different teams?
Yeah, so we have a bit of a game plan for that, but right now we're trying to read our goal we said was get 100 people to the park, and when we had 60 people, we kind of tried it out, and it was a little bit difficult with 1 or 2 people leading it because it's a lot of people to try to reach with one voice.
Yeah.
So we figured the best way to do it is smaller groups up to like 10, 15 people per group, and when different leaders kind of take that on, and we kind of change our workouts each time just to keep it interesting and fun, right? But pretty much all of our workouts are accommodating to large numbers, and we have a lot of space to use as well. But
I thank you guys for doing what you do. Exercise fitness is a great health benefit for all of us from all age groups. So thank you for taking the initiative for a nonprofit, so people don't have to pay anything to go out and do it.
Yeah,
that's a barrier to
kind of eliminate one more excuse.
That's right.
Don't leave me much.
It's coming out.
The rain.
Mayor Stewart.
So you mentioned, actually, Councillor Asmundson mentioned that this is something we should all be involved in, and so I wonder, tomorrow night, I've checked his schedule, and he's free. And
you haven't checked my boss.
So I'd be pleased to actually bring him out and make sure we're both there for tomorrow evening. This will be fun. Okay. All right.
We'll pay to see it.
There's the revenue generation right there. It's not a spectator sport, Councillor Reid. There are lots of events that we get invited to. Alzheimer's Walk, there's events throughout the year where they typically have a warm-up team. Do you ever do that sort of thing as a means of promoting this? I mean, it sounds to me like this is win-win for our community, and
we love those opportunities, like the Relay for Life opportunity we had to do, like host a tent. That was pretty cool. We're open to it. We haven't done much, but we'd like to do that so that more people get to know who we are.
Yeah, I'd love to see some flash mob kinds of opportunities to see where we go. Coquitlam Council has embraced activity and sports and all kinds of ways of our community can get and stay fit, and this makes me smile. So see you tomorrow night. Thank you.
Sweet.
All right.
Have an ambulance standing by.
Councillor Reid. Councillor Reid.
Okay, so are you going to go over 20?
Okay.
Ready?
Sorry.
Years.
Sorry?
How about for your grandparents?
Our age group ranges from this little boy that you see on the video that we can play before we leave to grandparents. Friends of ours bringing their parents and grandparents. Like, anybody's literally welcome. And
what's the oldest we've had? I think we've had 66 years old around that.
Yeah, 60, 70.
Not that old.
We're challenging it, right? Old joke. We're challenging it.
So, I think you guys, there's lots of opportunities in our city, and that handsome gentleman behind you, Mr. Raul Alueva, is the head of our Parks Department, and we have an events planner. We have big doings on July 1st. I think there's booths that are available that you can talk about and get into. the mayor mentioned flash mobs. Well, quite often we have stuff going on in Spirit Square here around. So I think there's lots of opportunities for you. We have 2 senior centers. I think that would be kind of fun too. And they'd really pay to come out and watch me do something. One push-up would be worth at least $100. Yeah. So I think I would really encourage you to get in touch with our Parks Department and. You know, this is really good. I'm proud of you. This is really nice. Really nice. Thank you.
Councillor Marsden.
Thanks. My turn said this high-intensity interval training was the thing to do, so I did it once. She's right. So I think that's great, but one of the great parts about it, it doesn't take a lot of equipment, but obviously, do you have some equipment needs, some capital needs that you guys have supplied there, or do you just try to use the various paraphernalia in the schoolyard?
Yeah, so we actually did a fundraiser on the weekend. So we did a pub night and we raised about $4,000.
Wow.
So that kind of money that we're getting in, we're using it for insurance and eventually permits and all these things. But also we're looking into equipment that we can utilize. You know, preferably equipment that can go to larger numbers. You know, because like we have stuff like step ladders and stuff like that a lot of people can get on. You can go through like 20, 30 people within a minute getting on that ladder, right? So, but you know, like using Parkland, it's been great. You have the field, you have like monkey bars, you have cement, you have logs, you have everything you could use. So you can really utilize stuff like that. But like it's nice to have the equipment for switching up locations and things like that because not everything is set up that way, right? So
okay, and that's I think is important to me because I think there's an opportunity perhaps through the staff with our spirit grants. Perhaps there's an alignment there for some of the capital requirements where being a nonprofit, perhaps there's an application process or there is an application process you might want to look at and talk about the attending the grants seminar, see where you might be able to have access to some funding that to help cover off some of the capital needs you have because this is a great initiative.
Thanks for bringing that up.
I think it could be really helpful, and you might see me on a Tuesday night, unless it's raining. The only thing I do in the rain is golf.
Yeah, that's even tougher than our weekend.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you coming out and sharing this information.
And I think that's kind of what we want to showcase really in our video. How we've really made ourselves all weather. There you go. Got some cool music, but we'll just talk through it. So that's part of one of our challenges. We got our whistles, keeping everybody on track. So this is nice in the summer. It's really warm and good. We haven't been like that for a while, I'll tell you that. We've been out in the rain for the last couple months.
But that being said, our group has consistently showed up. Like I said, you know, when you infuse culture into it, like you know your buddy's going to text you, be like, hey, you didn't show up, or you know that, you know, everybody's going to be having fun and you have this fear of missing out. You'll go even if it's snowing, even if it's raining, right?
No.
Some absolutely. It becomes addictive. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like even for example on last Tuesday in the rain, we had like 32 people. And we went to Excel Martial Arts, went to Spaney Pool, really showcasing our city.
So while we're watching, I just wanted to mention one thing. The city of Coquitlam has a universal accessibility committee, and one of the things they talk about often is young people with restricted movement or disabilities would love to have opportunities to go out and engage in physical activity. So I'm not sure if it's something on your radar, but there certainly is a cohort of people with disabilities that would love the chance to come out and work out in a crowd or to make new networks. So
we certainly have the manpower to facilitate.
Woman power.
Yeah, woman power to facilitate. You know, like I said, we have to break up into different groups anyways because one voice can't reach 60 people at once. So I'm certainly open to that.
Okay, well, keep it in your mind, and if there is an opportunity, share it with us at the city, and we could maybe share it with people that are in the community or at least with disabilities on our committee.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right, let's go work out.
Okay, Richard.
It has nothing to do with that.
Is that it?
That concludes our agenda for today.
Move adjournment.
Second.
Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Asmussen. All in favor?
15 minutes.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone's okay to go.
Thank you.
You guys be jogging in the